Hey, it's dark somewhere, Matt. Market Vitals 2 days in a row now. Listen, we like streaks, right? And we had an attendance record yesterday, so we're gonna keep things. We did a few other things to share the marketvitals.io stream. Please retweet it. Please share it amongst all your social networks, even if you didn't like it, because maybe you can create some enemies for us, Matt. A lot of things shaking and moving for sure. And we're going to play a little game here, Matt, coming in. You like the game Pictionary, right?
I don't like. I'm a good participant. I'm a horrible artist. So no, I get nervous. I get anxious about the drawing thing because I can't draw.
All right, Matt.
Honestly,
We got a half a picture here.
but I like the game. I just don't like to be the guy who's got to tell you this is Independence Day, right? Like
Right, exactly. How about claymation? Can you make it out of a piece of clay? Can you? No. All right, Matt. Here we go. I got to get my face out of the way, but I want you to first guess. Please tell me if I had drawn just that much. What am I drawing, Matt?
Penis head.
You know what it is?
No.
All right, let's finish it off. It was actually a half a butt cheek, Matt. And the reason why I did it is because there's so much crypto maximalism going on, right? That it seems to me that the crypto rocket is getting planted in cans left and right.
Yeah,
trading is dangerous, right, Matt?
I mean, the Twinklevoss twins and Davey Portnoy admitting he made a fault because we made a little false high there, but he doesn't understand that markets do that all the time. So it's up his ass. He bought it at 60,000 and now we're at 50. And it's broken, Bob. It's broken.
It's broken. It's broken. That's the other thing I thought about sharing, Matt, is listen, I don't need to be a radiology tech, right, to look at an X-ray and see a fractured leg, and see, hey, there's where when you're in the doctor's office, have you ever broken something, right? And he comes in and he puts it up on the board, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, there's my broken leg. Back to Market Vitals, right? And when you look at a chart, like we've been doing it for our 60 something, almost 70 plus combined years, you know what a chart looks like when it's broken. Anyway, we're gonna get to that Bitcoin price discovery in a second here. I just want to cover a few things here. This shared inside our network, Crypto After Dark. Ripple pulls off another smart move in its case against the SEC. Man, when I read the article, all I could think was, sometimes the government isn't as sharp as it appears to be, and everybody ran for the hills when the SEC brought this case forward. But it looks to me like it's going to be a battle royale amongst the lawyers. One thing I got to say that I would hope that we haven't lost in this country is the ability for lawyers to litigate and big time legal battles go on. And so I don't know, your thoughts on the case. Basically, what I saw from it was that the SEC may have been playing two sides of this, giving guidance actually to people requesting guidance that they hadn't made a determination yet, building a case at the same time that it was a security and that the Ripple people had committed fraud. I don't know. It's a very sticky case.
So so I like to think like a trader and I think the government doesn't. Here's how I kind of interpret it. I agree with you. I kind of don't think they know what to do, or they're diverting with this lawsuit, right? So there's a piece of me that says bullshit, double bullshit, and maybe this is the new quantum financial system coin, and the Chinese pretty much, I would bet, own the alt currency pet rock markets, right? There's millions of these things being mined for whatever reason, and computers based in China. And just it's interesting, all the countries now that are coming out and shutting down crypto mining operations. That's one thing that's going on. And it's going on in a lot of countries, not necessarily in the US, but it's happening in a lot of different areas. And as a trader, I look at that and go, okay, there's something going on underneath that still hasn't come to light. And it makes me really nervous, especially with the price discovery, at all-time highs, basically, for Bitcoin and the big ones. I just think that they're due for a big beatdown for whatever reason. And this may be the impetus, for something like that to happen. Again, I can't. It's just gut. It's just gut. There's a lot of shrapnel and noise going on, battling around this particular one. Why this one? Why this one over anything else? And
well, I mean, I think for
again,
sure.
well, but let me finish. But the most, the big thing about trading is who can get hurt the most. And I would bet that it's anybody long Bitcoin, because that's the one that everybody's long. So when everybody is on the same boat and the Twinkle Toes twins are, promoting, and everybody else is promoting, your boy Novogratz is promoting, now I see all these, bras telling me the institutions, it's not going down. The institutions are involved. Like, I used to hear that shit when I was actively managing a hedge fund, and institutions don't own Dolphin that we were talking about yesterday that went from $38 to the number I told you it would in less than 24 hours, 15. So institutions aren't involved. I'm sorry, that's bullshit, and you're being sold a bill of goods. So be careful the stories that you get sucked into, especially when everybody else sees the same stories. There's nothing new there. So this is, in other words, the tooth is very long, and I would be wary of whatever is being pumped out there, by the government, against the government, and what's going on. So just be careful. Just be careful.
Exactly. And well, we always say that the market's job is to deliver the most amount of pain to the most amount of people. We used to say that on the trading floor all the time. Like, stop hunting. So that's what it's supposed to do.
I do not think, based on all of that and all the, the noisier it gets, the more risk you're taking on. How's that? If it's quiet and people are accumulating it, then we don't need to talk about it, right? It'll show up slowly and regularly in price. But when it goes up parabolically, as Bitcoin has, it's got to rectify itself. That's just the way the game works. You have to hurt the masses. The masses can't be right. They can be right for a short period of time, but then they're all going to be wrong at the same time. And that's what happens over and over again. It just depends on the time frame that you're playing and what you're looking at. Again, Dolphin happened and went from $5 to 38, and now it's back to 14. So everybody who bought that stock in the last 2 days, Bob, underwater.
Hey, I shared that inside, or maybe I tweeted it. The snow stock. Every single person that owns the stock is underwater.
Every single person.
Every single person. Matt, back to the Bitcoin. Back to the crypto. Let's call it the ecosystem. I thought this was interesting, and I want to point out a couple of things about this that we've talked. I basically ad nauseum, right? That it seems that the fiat system is broken. When you have negative interest rates, when people can't put the money in the bank and earn an interest rate, right? Seems like something's wrong. Not only that, interest rates are zero or negative, yet go try to get a loan. Like nobody can get a loan for anything. I mean, it's an interesting response.
Exactly. Unless you have a 770, credit score, it is a complicated process to get a simple car loan for people today. And which again, with negative interest rates, basically, how can that be? Especially if somebody just they're desperate, they got a job that they can pay the $300 a month, and they're making $2,500 gross. Well, they should be able to get a loan, right? But the number, for whatever reason, doesn't match up with whatever it is that they're looking at, and it just brings more pain to the consumer, which ultimately prevents him from working and doing the things he needs to do, right? So it's crazy. It is crazy. It's absolutely crazy that, like you said, how come interest rates are negative, yet credit cards are still pretty much standard 20% if you don't pay the fucking thing every month?
They're banking. But I wanted to point this out because this is a big growing part of the crypto ecosystem, and it's basically the old model, right? You deposit money, they lend it out. You earn an interest rate for lending it. And what I really want to point out is that I do think institutions are involved here, because the only way that you would do this, right, is that if you could protect basically the foreign exchange risk of those dollars lended. You would never lend and get 7.4% if you thought Bitcoin, you could lose 75% of the value of it. That's an upside down equation. But you
Right.
can do it because there are actually very efficient ways to hedge the interest or the currency risk. And this has been going on for for 100 years. People have borrowed in yen or borrowed in Deutschmarks, and then
Well,
hedged.
especially companies that are international, like airlines, and and they're housed everywhere, they're flying everywhere, they're doing business everywhere. Whether they're buying in dollar, euro, depends on. And this is where, again, you do need a finance team to figure out this stuff, because it's super expensive if you don't start shifting. Because a lot of times you feel like you're wealthy because of a currency situation, but you're really not. When you
Yeah,
go
the
out
currency risk is real, and especially here with something that's inflated as Bitcoin. Man, let's go to the chart and talk about Bitcoin, because talk about the fractured leg. To me, the chart looks a bit broken. We've been talking about it.
I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about it, but I'm first going to talk about what we talked about yesterday, because we talked about it on the show. Dolphin Entertainment, piece of shit. We talked about it. Low float. Day one, don't short. Day two, start shorting. And guess what? It gapped up to 38. Even if you waited for the open, Bob, you got 32, 31, somewhere in there for the first half hour. It never even challenged the 38 tick overnight where it opened. They gapped it up and crapped it all day. And I said it'd go back to 15, and by the end of the week, and it did it in less than 24 hours. So we're trading 1456. I just wanted to throw that one out there because again, be wary of the stories. And I could pick that story apart in 5 minutes. It was one of the easiest ones I've ever seen. If you could get a borrow, again, very thin stock, but paid off. I mean, a half off sale in less than 24 hours. That's a great short in my book. I don't know about you, but I'll take that all day. When it comes to Bitcoin, Bob, same thing. Let's start with the short term. You can see we're making lows for the week here this morning. That's pretty obvious. And the low was right down here, right above 50,000, about 50,300 was our number. And again, fractaling out, I'll just jump right to the 610, because this gives you a really good idea of the different levels. Looks to me like the next step will be 48,000. We'll probably ping pong around, maybe bounce back to 50, 52, and then roll over and look for, again, 40,000 next, the test of that breakout, and which is the big part of the meat of the profile. Again, the profile doesn't even start coming into play on this time frame, Bob, until 40,000. That's the top, right? The main line is still the most traded price still for the last 6 months is down here at $19,000. I'm not saying we're going to go to that by the end of the week.
Oh, I am.
It's very possible, and it's still hanging out here. So I will throw it out there. I just have to talk about, we kid around and say all assets are one, but seriously, this morning, again, we had that crazy move because of the Suez Canal and oil. And we ran up from the low. We talked about this yesterday, 57.22, all the way up to 61 and change, 61 quarter. But again, right to the top where it should have stopped, it paused. If you were being greedy and hoping for 62, you didn't get any. If you started at 61, congratulations. That's why you leg into a position. You sell 61 to 62. And even if you sell one contract at 61, Bob, you're sitting on, $3,000 in gains on selling one CL today. So that's a really nice trade. And again, we tested that low right to the tick. Are we going to go lower or, and this is where you need to look at that longer term chart again. And we talked about this. If 57 can't hold, this thing is very clearly going to go back much lower prices. And that to me is still somewhere, the top of the profile is still around 53,000 on a 610 chart. So there's a big hole here. And if 57 fails, Bob, oil is going to fall further. Again, so sell rallies up to 62 right now. If it breaks 57, any bounces back to 57, you probably want to sell. Pretty straightforward.
Right on, Matt. Oh, awesome. You know what, Matt? You're good. The guy's good. That's all there is to it. I I think I got a whole new setup here today, Matt. Can you see my
We're
Bitcoin?
good. We're good, Bobby.
Unreal. It worked. It's all discombobulated here. Give me a second to
My God, he's got two screens for the first. He's a screen trader. He's never had more than one screen. This is
no. I had 8 screens at one time. I went down to my phone. Right, I'm back up to 2 screens.
That's
This
a
is
good
real
number.
growth for me, and and the camera's here. And anyway, Matt, talk about a different looking chart. And this is the daily in Bitcoin. I mean, if you don't see that this thing is fully rolled over now, and I talked about it yesterday, that they had gone, they had recaptured or traded out of lower momentum, went up and sniffed the average, and the average just said, no, not so fast. Yours. There was a lot of people there that said yours at that level. Closed them terrible yesterday, right? And today just continuing. And now the nuance is, and I don't know how long it lasts, right? But we for sure have falling away downward potentiality on this chart. And we're firmly in lower momentum. And until those two things change, at least one of the two, this thing looks negative. And so, when we fractal out standard deviation wise, let's just go to the 3-day first. That lower mo level, 48,000, 49,000. And we go to the weekly. Matt, a lot of times I talk about those levels as you fractal out become magnets. When the stories change, when the dynamic changes, those other levels become magnets. And you're 44,000. I think you have that same area here. And that's the weekly average, double bottom. Basically, that's where it went to after it made its first highs here over, at 57,000. This low this week was 43,171. The weekly average at 44. That becomes a magnet. And believe me, there'll be an argument there, right? And just, if that floor doesn't hold, there's a lot more room to the downside.
And Bob, let me point out also, because I'm a big fan, no matter how I trade, momentum or profile, of volume. And the volume on that rally to the new high here was declining. And that's not a good sign. That to me is a big warning sign. And again, it wasn't even half of what it was. I was just looking at your chart there. You took it away from me, but it wasn't even half of what it was when it made that first high. So that was a big, again, the Davy Portnoy bras and the Twinklevoss twins, they don't get this stuff because they don't trade. They're holders, right? They're just buy and hold. And they don't understand the mechanics of the market. And you really need to understand what you're trading, how it trades, and that volume and the difference in the change as price goes up and you have a lighter volume just tells me that was a move to, again, shake out weak-handed shorts, and then the big boys will come in and roll it over the next time. That's just the way they do it. I mean, that's the way they used to do it in the pit. You tell them about it. I mean, they run a price, take out all the shorts that had their stop at the old high, they run them out, and then they reverse it. It happens over and over again. It doesn't matter what market you trade. And that's, so talk about that a little bit, because that's what they do. They probe highs, they probe lows, they try to shake them out, because you have to have strong hands to be, again, it takes strong hands to make money in markets. It's not an easy game. It is not an easy game. But if you have tools and you have, the experience to understand how the mechanics work and look at things like volume on moves like that on a longer term chart, you're like, oh, I can comfortably sell into that because nobody's really buying here.
Yeah, volume is a huge component of it. And the market's job is to expose prices. Yep. Honest to God, it sounds ridiculous that the market's job is to weed out weakness and to expose prices and to deliver pain. I mean, I've just seen it too much not to understand and respect that. Matt, let's talk Fiat world.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Well, before we jump back over to the Fiat world, let me just, we talked about before. I saw this site yesterday. There was an article I read, and it again took me down a rabbit hole, and it's called superrare.co. This is a place where you can create digital art and sell it. And this one just, of course, is perfect for our show, I figured. So this guy created a Time magazine cover, that's not real, but time is fiat dead is what he said. And guess what, Bob? He's asking Let's see what it is. I think let me swing back here because the page before had I don't see the number on it, but here's the
It
list
already
of the.
sold.
No, I don't think it's sold. Well, maybe it did. I don't know how this works. It's new to me. But I mean, this is the art that's being created. But that particular, it might have sold, Bob, because that particular cover was going for $50,000, and that's why I brought it up. But look at some of these. I mean, you make this and you can sell it for $1,600. You make this $349. You want to buy this guy? It's just some crazy
Listen,
stuff.
man, I still have a bag full of Beanie Babies.
Right. You can probably sell them here. Make them into art.
Hey, how about this one too, Matt? The great nuance on this too. Thank you for bringing it up, because we talked about Beeple, the digital artist that sold his collection at Christie's for $60 million. And this is what I love about this story and this guy, right? And maybe, and believe me, Dave Portnoy, please don't take offense to this. This guy rang for $60 million, but he got it in Ethereum, right, Matt? Ether. And you know what he did? He sold it all for US dollars, because it's a generational ring. He ring the register that his great grandkids get to go to college because of it. Right. If there is college for his great grandchildren, that's a whole nother story. But we're still in this. We're in this in between space, and the fiat world is not going away without a fight, Matt. Nor is
the petro world. So stop complaining about petrodollars and just shutting. Again, here's what I have to say: people that want to go on that rant on the climate change and all that. You know what? Show me how you stop flying, traveling, living, no cars, no plastics in your house, sell everything you have. And then we'll talk. All right. I don't want to hear about your fascist ideas, your insane, crazy.
Well, at the end of the day, Matt, somebody has to be in charge, right? So
nobody's in charge. That's the thing. If you have a free market, it works itself out. Let it happen.
Well, it's supposed to. Let's hold on a second. Let's bring it in. Yeah. The levels you need to triage the market, right, Matt? We're triaging, and right now that S&P market needs a little triaging. Before we get there, though, let's talk a little pop culture.
Bobby, we're at the highs of the day again. You missed it during the start of the show.
Forever, Matt. The arguments have been greatest guitarist, greatest of all time, right? Greatest running back, the GOAT. The GOAT actually goes to guitar playing too. And I remember back in the day having feverish arguments about the greatest guitarist. I thought you shared this, and I thought it was very interesting to see Metallica now. The lead guitarist will be on Santana's upcoming album. And Carlos Santana, for my money, one of the sweetest guitar players of all time. Man, can he sing?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm not like I don't play guitar. You do, and I'm not a guitar aficionado. I don't really like. If I was to get into a conversation and say who's the top 25 guitarists, I could probably come up with 25 names, but I can't discern or differentiate any of them. So I would just say that I have seen Santana probably a half a dozen times, and I was never a huge fan, but I always loved their shows, and I saw most of them like high school through college, and they were old then, and I was young then. So how old? I just have to ask, how old is Carlos?
Has got to be mid-70s, right?
At least,
got to be.
At least he's got to be 80 years old. Which is cool. I think that's awesome.
Matt, well, along with that, I saw, because we talk about the fiat world and how the crypto's trying to disrupt artists compensation. And I thought this was interesting. And the reason why is this is from Spotify, Matt, and it's advertising that's driving not only the subscription, but the advertising is driving the model. And I thought this was awesome by Kohler, right? The bold look of Kohler presenting songs to sing in the shower. Hold on, let me work on the wet look here as the shower. And so these legacy systems that have been in place for now. I mean, Spotify now has got to be a decade old, right?
Oh, longer. So I didn't know you were going to bring this up. Let me bring in a chart real quick, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Uh,
That's what we do.
I saw this yesterday, and this was it was a streaming infographic. Streaming drives global music industry resurgence. So last year we were up 7.4%. 2020 was another good year. 21.6 million in total revenues from streaming services, Bob. And you see it on this chart, right? You see the decline in the physical sales, the green, and you see the takeoff of streaming, which is the yellow. And Spotify, yeah, it was out probably 2000. Well, it says 8 here in parts of Europe, but I know I was on the platform 6 and 7. I had access to it way back then because I'm such a music nut. I loved it. I've loved it now, I guess, for 15 years. I can't believe I've been using Spotify that long, but it has taken over. And again, I was talking to our common friend about the music industry, and he was complaining about musicians. Well, you still make your money as musicians touring. So this past 13 months has been horrendous. Obviously, they can't make any money touring, and nobody really wants to pay for streaming shows. And you've seen that kind of they tried to do that, and people they're like, I don't want to pay to watch it. I can watch your live videos on YouTube. Why would I pay to watch you stream in your bathtub? I don't care. And unless I'm at the show unless I'm at the show feeding off the energy of the crowd, and the crowd could be 10 people. The Tiny Desk concerts aren't even happening. I would watch those. I would pay for those if you were doing a Tiny Desk concert, because at least the office people in the tiny desks are there watching, and they're cheering, and they're interacting. That's what people miss, Bob.
Hey,
but
Matt, go to the chart. Spot, SPOT. Because it's getting schmeezed along with the rest of the market.
Right. So again, you're seeing these stories. So this is a good point to talk about. You're seeing these stories and how great things are, right? But the price is built in, and that's exactly right. And that's where I was heading with this. And we talked about this at 386, and we're going to come back to that 250 level. Well, Bob, I can't make this stuff up. We said this about a month ago, on the 1st of March. It's likely going to trade back to 250. Be ready. Here it is. So again, if 220 doesn't hold, this thing's in trouble. And again, you can start fractaling it out and see you've got a $47 billion market cap. Only 21 billion in the entire streaming world happened. So they are 2.25x the market right now, which is probably a little pricey.
Right on. When you look at that, if that floor doesn't hold and becomes a ceiling, what's that longer term point of control?
It's basically 150. So you can go from 220 to 150, and it won't take long again. And it won't happen here until we break 220. So wait for a break of 220. But you should be selling any rallies in Spotify right now. It's a broken chart. I mean, again, 386 high down to 250. That's 130 points, which is about 40%. And this is quietly what's happening, Bob. We're seeing 40% sell-offs. We talked about Penn Gaming yesterday. Let's throw it up because I like 40%. You had a 40% off sale this morning, 142. We traded down to 99 again, which I said we would be there when it was 117 earlier in the week. Davey Portnoy, I just made you 17% in a week. All you had to do is listen to me. You would have booked in a lot more money. But if you want to wait for 75, that's the next level, Dave. And then if you can't hold there, you want to go back to 35, you can sell it there, Dave. It's your point.
Yeah. It's... I don't know what to say.
I hate to see, to your point, Bob, generational wealth. If you can take 150 million here, take it, and go ahead and have your ego buy 20 million of it back at $32 when it gets there. Go for it. That's what you need.
100%, Matt. 110%. All right, where should we go here? Let's just touch on a few things that are out there. Geopolitics, Marco Rubio, there's stuff flying over U.S. bases and nobody knows what it is. UFOs, there's supposed to be a full declassification coming our way, right?
Very soon.
Dennis Rodman is actually an alien, like Men in Black pointed out. Right. I don't know what truth's going to come out. I do know this. I have close friends that are or were in the military, and when I see a headline like that, it's very disturbing because they're nothing faster than what we can put up in the air, we thought. And if we don't know what it is, it means that we can't catch it.
Right.
And that's something to consider. And Matt, when I save an image like this, I got to put a name to it so I remember it when I go through, because when I pull it up. And this one, I put the old Scooby-Doo, ruh-roh. In fact, I wish I had Scooby-Doo over the shoulder.
If you are, you're not going to see it on CNN, but if well, you might. I don't watch it, but there's more and more talk of other living creatures, and there's no doubt in my mind we're not the only ones in this vast universe. There's no doubt in my mind. There's other living creators out there.
I don't know. It could be the Chinese or the Russians that came up with some sort of hyperdrive. Maybe they got Tesla's.
I mean, if that's the case, then I'm open to that too. But I'm just saying, I think.
Well, actually, I think that's what Rubio said, was like, if it's UFOs, that's concerning. If it's Russia or China, that's even more concerning. I thought that was interesting. We got the Suez thing going on. We got rockets again.
Well, you know what? Hold on. While I have you,
Matt.
While I have you, before we move on, let me just real quickly bring up a chart, since we're talking about rocket ships. So let's talk about Virgin Galactic, and let's just look at that chart. I haven't looked at it in a while. And okay, again, all assets are one, Bob. 63, and guess what? We've been haircutted in half. So this company, by the way, Virgin Galactic is worth 40% of Davy Boy's Penn Gaming. Just again, I like to use these numbers just to give you reference, okay? Because market caps do matter at some point. So if the future is space and not gambling, I would, again, maybe there's a trade here, as you're coming back into a value zone. If you believe in that play, maybe you buy space and you sell Penn Gaming. This is a nice, again, market cap here down to 16 million. It was 18 yesterday. So it's only about 50%. So Virgin Galactic, which has, space engines and hard capital supposedly going on, versus, some websites that allow you to
bet the over
under technology wise, which is easier to copy. I would say the gambling sites. So a little, there's a lot more risk, I think, in the gambling world with everybody already gambling. What's the upside? Everybody's already a degenerate gambler in the European nations and the Asian nations, and now the U.S. nations are officially legalized as degenerate gamblers, but we always have been too. So there's nothing new there. You know what I mean? So if you like that story, and again, we're talking space, buy space, it's 50% off. Sell Penn because it's got a lot more to go. It's got another 50% haircut coming. Seems like a good
what's the point of control there? Because now we're getting into
well, the top here we've already touched on. It was $27. We're trading $29.74. The point of control is down here at $16.90. And again, this is a 610 chart, so this is going back about 9 months. It's not quite a year.
Right. So I mean, the point of control is still another half off sale.
Yeah, and here's a daily. It's still 16.90 right there. This is a daily look. All these bars that you're looking at are daily bars. Again, just coming into the top of value. So this would be a good area. Top of value is where I'd buy in the money calls. I buy the $17, $18 strikes because we're trading 29. It's a lot cheaper than buying the stock because I want to own it at 16 anyway. So I have no problem.
Right on. Matt, one other thing back to pop culture. I saw this, and for me, I don't know, when I saw that they fired the guy for the hot mic comment about a penalty call, about how he was going to make a makeup call. Listen, man, there's so many times in sports where there's a 50-50 call. Refs are human; they're involved in the game. They get things wrong. His mistake was that he had a hot mic, right? But the fact that this is, I can't believe you would say something like that. Come on, man. You're watching. If you fuck up in the game.
Well, my question is, the NHL, there's obviously, there's more to the story because, and you'll never know. But here's where you have to say, was this guy was the guy who leaked the hot mic working for the NHL. He knows him. Maybe they were both going after the same gal, and she preferred the
Well,
ref
I've
over
always
the hot mic producer, and the producer said, "Aha! I'll get you. I'll show you." And I'm going to get your ass fired because I'm going to leak this hot tape. I mean, there's something personal that happened there that just you'll never know about, and it doesn't make sense.
I don't get it. I don't get it, Matt. Let's cover one more thing. Not the well, yeah. Well, let's do two things. The $100 trillion note now getting printed by the Reserve Bank of America with Jerome Powell. You see these memes coming along, yet the dollar is looking very strong. And you've been saying about it. You've been touting the dollar for months.
Well, since the start of the year, I said one of the best trades that you'll come up with for the 2021 calendar year was long the dollar, and it was quite simply because they cratered it into the end of this year, just because it was the end of the year. It was the change of guard and the White House, et cetera. So it was just a pure momentum play, and then it literally turned on a dime once we turned the calendar, and that's exactly what I said it would happen. Bring up one of your charts on the dollar there, Bob, because it made new highs.
And because it's again, when we talk about nuance and standard deviation trading, let's look at it. And this is the weekly, Matt. This is the weekly. And again, I mean, that's changed. That has changed. You got upward expanding potentiality to the upside, just kind of like the opposite chart of Bitcoin, right? And this is the weekly expanding potentiality. I mean, I don't see how you don't go trade at least this top here at, I don't know, 94.70 ish. But for sure, the worm has turned here. And as long as it respects the momentum level on a weekly basis, I don't know how you fade the dollar at any point soon. And for sure, I mean, room over the 2020, it was as high as 103.
And and here's the point. If it does, here's what's going to happen. I think here's where you're going to see the acceleration, Bob. When this thing gets over 95, it is going to zoom. It is going to zoom to par. It's going to zoom to par. It won't take more than 3 or 4 months, I believe, once it gets over 95 to get to par.
Let's fractal out even further. 94 is that monthly. This is out to the monthly, that monthly moving average. And there'll be an argument between there and 95, that high. But again, now, once you take that out, and again, I love the standard deviation modeling because it gives me an idea of the potential of the next move coming. What's the next magnet, right? And so that up momentum level up above between 97 and 98 is where that's the magnet that it's going to be drawn to. And that's what I love about standard deviation modeling. On whatever fractal you're looking at, it gives you kind of a, if the batter's hot, where's he likely to go bat to? If the batter's cold, where's that batting average likely to go to? All right, Matt.
Let me bring up a quick profile, kind of just to see this side of the equation also. So you got the momentum model. You're tagging right now. This is a daily chart. You're tagging the 50-day, which we haven't seen in a long time. We haven't seen it since. We broke through it in May of last year when we, was the last time we saw or touched the moving average for the dollar. So it's been 10 months since we saw that. And you can see it's coming right to a level, probably, right here at 93, where it'll probably pause again. If it doesn't, it's super strong. And if it doesn't pause at 93, it's going to go right to 94, and then it might pause, right? Because you got the old highs here at 94.80 or so. But you can see in the profile, you're starting to get into a meet where it might pause. But that's great. Again, if you want to pull back, area to buy 91.70, 91.50 would be an area that's $1 below us here. I would buy more. I'm already long. I would buy more there. Okay. So that's how I look at the rotation in this, because I'm expecting that level 91.50 probably holds next time. It was the old high here. And I think that will hold also. So you have an old high, a hole here that you can touch and fill in a little bit. And then that just brings more support to the chart. And next time over 94 again, it's going to move very swiftly up to the next level, which is 97, not quite 100. But again, that battle up to 100 is still, that's the high end of this zone. So you can still see it just kind of, again, we've been here. We were just here, last spring when the whole debacle and the pandemic started. So it's 13 months later, we can go back and see these numbers again. People forget, but the dollar's not going to zero because why, Bob? Everybody's short the dollar. They have been for, and everybody's long gold, so it won't go up. Everybody's short the dollar. It won't go down. It's as simple as that.
Bada bing. Matt, I got another graphic here. Two quick ones. First one, this one, median stock percentage above 52-week low in the OTC market, which is the penny stock market, 300%, more than doubling any of the previous bubbles here that you see. That's the 09, 08, 09 bubble there was 125%. I mean, talk about insanity in valuation. And these are pet rocks, penny stocks. Like, it's unbelievable.
Like dolphin. Take it for whatever
you want to look at it or what it's worth, but there's warning signs everywhere. And the last one I want to bring up, Matt, is
and thank you to Sentiment Trader. I love his stuff.
Hold on a second. Wait a second. Get out of here. All right, it's this one, and this was the real Bud Bundy. Did a new strain of COVID break out in China? I actually tagged this one the China syndrome today or something, but he's bringing up charts, and it's not just today. And I wanted to just talk about this briefly again on this. For me, it's like the piling on of information on why the stock market's going to correct here. And these are big Chinese, either ETFs or Alibaba's, they're Amazon, and their charts are, talk about a disconnect between the U.S. market. These charts, they've fully given up the ship already. And I think it's a nuance that you gotta pay attention to. Like, what's the rest of the world doing? And if you want to, you want to bring up Alibaba?
Yeah, I'll bring up FXI to start with, because again, the bottom was seen here at 33. Again, this is, I don't know if it's the largest, but it's one of the larger ETFs that trades Chinese stocks. I don't know what makes up the index. I have not traded it in a long time. I did way back when, but it's been 20 years where I cared about this stuff every day. Again, we're just coming. This is a daily chart, Bob. So we're just coming back into kind of balance, if you will, and that's a 20% haircut on an ETF that is basically, like you said, it's mirroring Chinese indices. This is not a good sign. It's bearish, and to me, it looks like it wants to trade 41 and possibly down to 38. So if you wanted to, look for areas to buy, those would be areas for me. In that area, if it can't hold in there, then it's going lower, and it can go lower. So that's the thing. Don't, just because it comes back into balance doesn't mean it can't go below balance and stay below for a while too. So you need to understand that maybe the first pass in there, you might get a counter trend rally, but that, if it can't hold these lows in here, it's going to go even lower. So just think about that also. And then Alibaba, you mentioned, it has not been doing well for quite some time. And again, there's a lot of chaos, I think, politically and saber rattling going on between the countries that, I think a lot of hedge funds and mutual funds, that have different, parameters and what they can and can't invest in, maybe are pulling back from China, and probably wisely so. And if they haven't, again, Alibaba went from 320 down here to 211, had to bounce back to the top again. If you're paying attention, this stuff is setting up beautifully. And we talked about this. You'll get a rally off that first move that will be the greatest short of your life. And it's happened. So we talked about that, again, towards the end of February. It's been a month that you had this bounce, and now it's playing out. So you missed it again. So, but this is what you want to look for in your charts. The first fall is usually the signal. The next rally is the best entry you can get typically as a short seller. And a lot of those, that's what like short selling funds, I can tell you right now, this first quarter are having huge months, Bob, huge months. And yet the S&P is still only down 2% from its all-time high. So what's happening? The dandruff is getting shaken out of, the Fabio hairstyle, and it's not looking pretty for the rest of the market. The small caps haven't been doing well. Today they're leading us, but this is the nuance of the market. The dandruff is starting to show in this market, big time.
Right on. All right, man. I just thought it was interesting to see, where those charts are long term, and they've given back a giant portion.
Yeah.
of the
But there's still, by the way, the point of control on Alibaba is 175 on the daily, and we're at 225. So it's still a significant haircut that can and probably will come when the market in whole begins its selling process.
Well, it
Which I
certainly
think,
feels like it's rolled over again. Or
yeah,
as you know, it's an evolving story, as trading always is, right? It's an evolving
totally
story.
evolving.
We haven't
You know,
really changed the slope yet of the standard deviation lines. For me, that is what I need to see. We for sure have found lower momentum, and we've traded out of upper momentum on the longer term time frame. The slopes are important to me. In fact, I want to go skiing this afternoon. Oh, anyway, Matt, I'm sure we could talk forever, right? But I think
yep.
that's a wrap for the day.
All right, buddy. It was a good
Listen.
show. Looking forward. Hey guys, marketvitals.io. If you like what you see here, even if you don't like it, retweet it, send it out, because more people need to get this information. We're sharing with you, a bucket of information. We're going to pour it on your head, use it as you wish, and define your risk and play ball, people. Play ball. This is the greatest game on earth, but you have to understand the people at the table and what's going on. If you don't play.
I couldn't agree more, Matt. I couldn't agree. The greatest show on earth. I'm reminded of a story of a young lad. He was incredibly intelligent mathematician out of Princeton or some Ivy League school, and he was an East Coast kid and was a swimmer in the Ivy League, and came to Chicago and got started and as a runner, and got hired by a top options firm and was just killing it with his analysis. And he walks into the boss, the owner of the options firm, and says, I'm quitting. And the guy's like, what do you mean you're quitting? He's like, yeah, I just don't see myself in this position. I'm going to go back and teach high school gym and coach swimming. And the guy is like, first of all, he sees that this kid could be a golden goose for him, right?
Right.
And he says to him, are you out of your mind? Movie stars, rock stars, professional athletes, and commodity traders. You got to chase me in the top 4 of the greatest professions on the planet. Were you kidding me? Right. And really, I can tell you the frustration was, you're going to make me a shit ton of money. You can't go teach gym and coach swimming. Where are you going? Anyway, these markets are going to be fantastic for the foreseeable future to trade. But the only way that you stay in the game, Matt, and you know this as well as I, is to have either the most incredible discipline and system in place, or have a network surrounding you that helps you in that endeavor of defining risk, being accountable, right, to that, and also being accountable to letting your winners run and exposing the true potential of great trade setups. So that's what we aim to do at marketvitals.io. Please join the community.
Hey, Bob, I was just looking here. This is a good, before we exit, take a look at Russell. People don't realize we've been talking about it all week. This is Thursday. This is Monday. All week I said Russell was leading us. We went from 2,300 down to below 2,100. So we had a 10% move in 4 days in the Russell. So we talked about, this is something you and I talked about off air yesterday, and I want to bring it up again. It's very difficult for large trading firms, hedge funds, mutual funds, to exit quietly small cap stocks, because there's only so much float. And if they own 10, 20, 30% of them, it's very hard to sell them at the highs. So for big funds to make money trading Russell, it's very difficult, because they, you either have to be a short-term trader or you have to be a longer-term trader. And the longer-term traders, what this is telling me, Bob, and if I go to the daily chart, the big money left, it started leaving probably up in here, and that was right at the first of the year. It again made a new high, but you can see these trend lines. It never even captured this line, let alone this line. And I know we don't trade off, you and I don't trade off them, but I want to, this tells me also what the big money is doing. So distribution was happening all of 2021. And now it's just getting to the point where it's going to go really fast, and it's going to trade back. We talked about this. 1700 is still a double from where we were in March of 2020, Bob. 1700, let me say that again. 1700, which is 450 points from where we are, another 20, 30, 40, what is that? 25% is still a very bullish profile. So just coming back into balance, and this is what's happening right now. You may not, and I'll say it now. We are distributing. These large funds are exiting. And when they're ready to pump this thing, and when they're done, those, the smart ones that leave early, when they're done, they're also going to leave a footprint that says they're short, and this thing's going to go down further. Okay. So they have to sell into strength. That's the only way they can make money as a large fund, because they have large positions. And these stocks don't trade in the bazillions like Amazon and Netflix. Okay. So again, the market mechanics matter. Small cap stocks are great when they're going up. When they're going down, it's kind of like trading hogs. The trends just go one way.
I was going to, exactly.
And then they just go the other way.
There's a nuance in the hog calendar, and that is that they have a May expiration, right? And nobody trades the May. And I don't even know why they still have it on there. And generally the curve should be April less than May, May less than June, June, July, August, somewhere in there is the top. And then the curve falls back off as you go towards the fall and the winter in the curve. And people are like, if hogs are so strong, why is April over May? And when you look at the ladder, you're like, well, try to put 10 May on and then get out of them. I mean, so you're right. The structure and the nuance of that market structure is important. Like how are you exiting a giant position in small caps? Well, you better do it a little bit over time. And
every day.
When you get the opportunity on strength, you better be hammering it.
And this is where they're, and this is, again, people don't understand this. If I'm sitting on 1 million shares and I can only really, quietly sell 2,000 at a time, I'm going to spend my whole day, getting rid of 30,000 without somebody noticing it, right? Because it's not hard to see. So they have to play those games too. And again, that's not a problem you and I have as a smaller traders. But this affects the overall market, and that's why I bring it up. You should also use it as a flag and a warning sign for you to be getting rid of your small cap stocks, and even considering a short, even if it's something you haven't done. Consider yourself, warned and educated, because this is changing. It's happening and it happens subtly. That's the beauty of it. And then all of a sudden you wake up and it's down 5-10% a day, and you're like, whoa, what happened? Well, the warning, they're ringing the bell right now, is what I'm telling you. They are freaking ringing the bell. I said in March, by March, we'd start to see this really show itself. It started in February. Here we are again in March, testing these lows, and it's getting dangerous. It's getting to the point where that big hole is going to come into play. And you don't want to be left holding the bag here okay. And again, this is what happens. Everybody's long right now. And when there is this day where they all realize, oh shit, we just gapped down 5%. I better sell now. Well, why not sell now where there's a little strength? Right now, we're up 1.5% on the day. Sell some.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. I will see you a little later. We're going to go have a 10-barrel beverage, I believe.
I believe we are.
We have a nice afternoon plan. And believe me, if you're trading, you better be trading for a reason. When you ring the register, please enjoy yourself. That is a big part of the equation. Enjoy yourself, please. Anyway, visit us at marketfunnels.io. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Miss Trade.